Nothing abides at the noon. Alas, said Haya, the sentiments which this person expressed with irreproachable honourableness when the sun was high in the heavens and the probability of secretly leaving an undoubtedly well-appointed home was engagingly remote, seemed to have an entirely different significance when recalled by night in a damp orchard and on the eve of their fulfilment. The wallet of Kai Long. And his short minute afternoon is night. Done. Mr. Goyles was interviewed the next day at the police station. Mr. Murbles was present, and Mary insisted on coming too. The young man began by blustering a little, but the solicitor's dry manner made its impression. "Lord Peter Wimsey identifies you," said Mr. Murbles, "as the man who made a murderous attack upon him last night. With remarkable generosity he has forborne to press the charge. Now we know further that you were present at Riddlesdale Lodge on the night when Captain Cathcart was shot. You will no doubt be called as a witness in the case, but you would greatly assist justice by making a statement to us now. This is purely a friendly and private interview, Mr. Goyles, as you see, for no representative of the police is present. We simply ask for your help. I ought, however, to warn you that, whereas it is, of course, fully competent to you to refuse to answer any of our questions, a refusal might lay you open to the gravest imputations." "In fact, it's a threat," said Goyles. "If I don't tell you, you'll have me arrested on suspicion of murder." "Dear me, no, Mr. Goyles. We should merely place what information we hold in the hands of the police, who would then act as they thought fit. God bless my soul. No, anything like a threat would be highly irregular. In the matter of the assault upon Lord Peter, his lordship will, of course, use his own discretion." "Well, it's a threat, you call it what you like. However, I don't mind speaking, especially as you will be jolly well disappointed. I suppose you gave me away, Mary?" Mary flushed indignantly. "My sister has been extraordinarily loyal to you, Mr. Goyles. I may tell you, indeed, that she put herself into a position of grave personal inconvenience, not to say danger, on your behalf. You were traced to London in consequence of your having left unequivocal traces in your exceedingly hasty retreat. When my sister accidentally opened a telegram, addressed to me at Riddlesdale by my family name, she hurried immediately to town, to shield you, if she could, at any cost, to herself. Fortunately, I had already received a duplicate wire at my flat. Even then I was not certain of your identity when I accidentally ran across you at the Soviet Club. Your own energetic efforts, however, to avoid an interview gave me complete certainty, together with an excellent excuse for detaining you. In fact, I am uncommonly obliged to you for your assistance." Mr. Goyles looked resentful. "I don't know how you could think, George," said Mary. "Never mind what I think. I gather you've told them all about me anyhow. Well, I'll tell you my story as shortly as I can, and you'll see I know damn all about it. If you don't believe me, I can't help it. I came along at about 2:45 and parked the bus in the lane." "Where were you at 11:50? "On the road from Northallerton. My meeting didn't finish till 10:45. I can bring 100 witnesses to prove it." Wimsey made a note of the address where the meeting had been held, and nodded to Goyles to proceed. "I climbed over the wall and walked through the shrubs. You saw no person and no body?" "Nothing. Nobody alive or dead." "Did you notice any blood or footprints on the path?" "No. But then I didn't like to use the torch for fear of being seen from the house. There was just light enough to see the path, and I came to the door of the conservatory just before 3. As I came up, I stumbled over something. I felt it. It was like a body. I was alarmed. I thought it might be Mary, ill or fainted or something. I ventured to turn on the light. I saw it was Cathcart, dead." "You're sure he was dead?" "Stone dead." "One moment," imposed the solicitor. "You say you saw that it was Cathcart. Had you known Cathcart previously?" "No, never. I mean, I saw it was a dead man, and afterwards learnt it was Cathcart." "In fact, you Do not now, to your own knowledge, know for certain that it was Cathcart. Well, yes, I recognised the photographs in the papers afterwards. It is very necessary to be accurate in making a statement, Mr. Giles. Remarks such as you made now just might give a most unfortunate impression to the police or to a jury. So saying, Mr. Murbles blew his nose and resettled his pince-nez. What happened next? Inquired Peter. I fancied I heard someone coming up the path. I didn't think it wise to be found there with a corpse, so I cleared out. Oh, well, that was a very simple solution. You left the girl you were going to marry to make for herself the unpleasant discovery that there was a dead man in the garden, and that her gallant wooer had made tracks. What did you expect her to think? I thought she'd keep quiet for her own sake, and as a matter of fact I didn't think very clearly about anything. I knew I'd broken in where I had no business, and if I was found with a murdered man it might look jolly queer for me. In fact, you lost your head, young man, and you ran away in a very foolish and cowardly manner. You might put it that way, but I was in a very awkward and stupid situation to start with. Yes, said Lord Peter ironically, and 3 a.m. is a nasty, chilly time of day. Next time you arrange an elopement, make it 6 o'clock in the evening, or 12 o'clock at night. You seem better at forming conspiracies than carrying them out. A little thing upsets your nerves, Mr. Giles. I don't really think you know that a person of your temperament should carry firearms. What in the world, you blithering young ass, made you loose off that popgun at me last night? You would have been in a damned awkward situation then, if you'd accidentally hit me in the head or the heart or anywhere that mattered. If you're so frightened of a dead body, why go about shooting at people? Why? That's what beats me. If you're telling the truth now, you never stood in the slightest danger. Lord, to think of the time and trouble we've had to waste catching you, you ass! And poor old Mary working away, half killing herself because she thought at least you wouldn't have run away unless there was something to run from. You must make allowances for a nervous temperament. If you knew what it felt like to be shadowed and followed and badgered. But I thought you Soviet people enjoyed being suspected of things. Why, it ought to be the proudest moment of your life when you're really looked on as a dangerous fellow. It's the sneering of men like you that does more to breed hatred between class and class. Never mind about that. The law is the law for everybody. And you have managed to put yourself in a very awkward position, young man. He touched a bell on the table, and Parker entered with a constable. We shall be obliged to you if you will kindly have this young man kept under observation. We make no charge against him so long as he behaves himself, but he must not attempt to abscond before the Riddlesdale case comes up for trial. No, sir, certainly not. One moment. Mr. Giles, here is the ring you gave me. Goodbye. When next you make a public speech calling for decisive action, I will come and applaud it. You speak well about that sort of thing. But otherwise, I think we had better not meet again. Of course, your people have forced you into this position, and so you now turn round and sneer at me too. I didn't mind thinking you were a murderer, but I do mind your being such an ass. Before Mr. Giles could reply, Mr. Parker, bewildered but not wholly displeased, manoeuvred his charge out of the room. Mary walked over to the window and stood biting her lips. I say, Polly, old Murbles has asked us to lunch, eh? Would you like to come? Sir Impey Biggs will be there. I don't want to meet him today. It's very kind of Mr. Murbles, but... Oh, come along, old thing. Biggs is some celebrity, you know, perfectly topping to look at, in a marbly kind of way. He'll tell you all about his canaries. Oh, Peter, it's perfectly sweet of you to try and amuse the baby, but I can't. I'll make a fool of myself. I've been a fool enough for one day. Bosh! Of course Giles didn't show up well this morning, but he was in an awfully difficult position. Do come. Indeed, I hope Lady Mary will consent to adorn my bachelor establishment. I shall esteem it a very great honour. I really do not think I have entertained a lady in my chambers for 20 years. Dear me, 20 years, indeed, it must be. Well, in that case, I simply cannot refuse. Mr. Murbles inhabited a delightful set of old rooms in Staple Inn, with windows looking out upon the formal garden, with its odd little flower-beds and tinkling fountain. The chambers kept up to a miracle the old-fashioned law atmosphere which hung about his own prim person. His dining-room was furnished in mahogany with a Turkish carpet and crimson curtains. On the sideboard stood some pieces of handsome Sheffield plate, and a number of decanters with engraved silver labels round their necks. There was a bookcase full of large volumes bound in law calf, and an oil painting of a harsh-featured judge over the mantelpiece. Lady Mary felt a sudden gratitude for this discreet and solid Victorianism. "I fear we may have to wait a few moments for Sir Impey. He is engaged in Quangle and Hamper versus Truth, but they expect to be through this morning. In fact, Sir Impey fancied that midday would see the end of it. He's a brilliant man, Sir Impey. He's defending Truth. Astonishing position for a lawyer, what? The newspaper. Against these people who profess to cure 59 different diseases with the same pill. Quangle and Hamper produced some of their patients in court to testify to the benefits they'd enjoyed from the cure, but to hear Sir Impey handling them was an intellectual treat. His kindly manner goes a long way with old ladies. When he suggested that one of them should show her leg to the bench, the sensation in court was really phenomenal. Did she show it? Oh, panting for the opportunity, my dear Lord Peter. Panting for the opportunity. Well, I wonder they had the nerve to call her. Nerve, oh, the nerve of men like Quangle and Hamper is not a fellow in its universe, to adopt the expression of the great Shakespeare. But Sir Impey is not the man to take liberties with. We are extremely fortunate to have secured his help. I think I hear him. A hurried footstep on the stair indeed announced the learned counsel, who burst in, still in wig and gown, and full of apology. "I am extremely sorry, Murbles. We became excessively tedious at the end, I regret to say. I really did my best, but dear old Dowson is getting as deaf as a post, you know, and terribly fumbling in his movements. How are you, Whimsy? You look as though you'd been in the wars. Can we bring an action for assault against anybody?" Much better than that. It's attempted murder, if you please. Excellent, excellent. But we've decided not to prosecute. Really? Oh, my dear Whimsy, this will never do. Lawyers have to live, you know. Ah, your sister. I hadn't the pleasure of meeting you at Riddlesdale, Lady Mary. I trust you are fully recovered. Entirely, thank you. Mr. Parker, of course, your name is very familiar. Whimsy here can't do a thing without you. I know. Murbles, are these gentlemen full of valuable information? I'm immensely interested in this case. Not just at this moment, though. Oh, indeed, no. Nothing but that excellent saddle of mutton has the slightest attraction for me just now. Forgive my greed. Well, let's make a start. I fear, my dear young people, I am old-fashioned enough not to have adopted the modern practice of cocktail drinking. Well, quite right too, Murbles. It ruins the palate and spoils the digestion. Not an English custom either. Rank sacrilege in this old inn. Came from America. Result, prohibition. That's what happens to people who don't understand how to drink. God bless me, sir, why you're giving us the famous claret. It's a sin so much as to mention a cocktail in its presence. Yes, it is the Lafitte 75. It is very seldom, that I bring it out for anybody under 50 years of age. But you, Lord Peter, have a discrimination which would do honour to one of twice your years. Well, thank you very much, sir. That's a testimonial I deeply appreciate. May I circulate the bottle, sir? Do. We will wait on ourselves. Simpson, thank you. After lunch, I will ask you to try something really curious. An odd old client of mine died the other day, and he left me a dozen of 47 port. Gad, 47? It'll hardly be drinkable, will it, sir? I very greatly fear that it will not. A great pity, but I feel that some kind of homage should be paid to so notable an antiquity. It would be something to say that one had tasted it, like going to see the divine Sarah, you know. Voice gone, bloom gone, savour gone, but still a classic. Ah, I remember her in her great days. We old fellows have the compensation of some wonderful memories. Quite right, and you'll pile up plenty more yet. And what was this old gentleman doing to let a vintage like this get past its prime? Oh, Mr. Featherstone was a very singular man, and yet I don't know. He may have been profoundly wise. He had the reputation for extreme avarice, never bought a new suit, never took a holiday, never married, lived all his life in the same dark, narrow chambers he occupied as a briefless barrister. Yet he inherited a huge income from his father, all of which he left to accumulate. The port was laid down by the old man, and he died in 1860, when my client was 34. He, the son, I mean, was 96 when he deceased. He said no pleasure ever came up to the anticipation, and so he lived like a hermit, doing nothing but planning all the things he might have done. He wrote an elaborate diary containing, day by day, the record of this visionary existence, which he had never dared put to the test of actuality. The diary described minutely a blissful wedded life with the woman of his dreams. Every Christmas and Easter Day, a bottle of the 47 was solemnly set upon his table, and solemnly removed unopened at the close of his frugal meal. An earnest Christian, he anticipated great happiness after death, but as you see, he put the pleasure off as long as possible, and he died with the words, "He is faithful that promised," feeling to the end the need of assurance. A very singular man, very singular indeed, far removed from the adventurous spirit of the present generation. How curious and pathetic. Or perhaps he did sometimes set his heart on something unobtainable, said Parker. Well, I don't know, said Mr. Murbles. People used to say that the dream lady had not always been a dream, but that he could never bring himself to propose. Ah, said Sir Impey briskly, the more I see and hear in the courts, the more I'm inclined to feel that Mr. Featherstone chose the better part, and are determined to follow his example, in that respect at any rate, Sir Impey? Mr. Parker glanced towards the window. It was beginning to rain. Truly enough, the 47 port was a dead thing. The merest ghost of its old flame and flavour hung about it. Lord Peter held his glass poised a moment. It is like the taste of a passion that has passed its noon and turned to weariness. The only thing to do is to recognize bravely that it is dead and put it away. Ah! With a determined movement he flung the remainder of the wine into the fire. The mocking smile came back to his face. What I like about Clive is that he is no longer alive. There is a great deal to be said for being dead. What classic pith and brevity in those 4 lines. However, in the matter of this case, we've a good deal to tell you, sir. With the assistance of Parker, he laid before the 2 men of law the whole train of the investigation up to date, Lady Mary coming loyally up to scratch with her version of the night's proceedings. In fact, you see, this Mr. Goyle lost a lot by not being a murderer. We feel he would have cut a fine, sinister figure as a midnight assassin. But things being as they are, you see, we must make what we can of him as a witness, what? Well, Lord Peter, I congratulate you and Mr. Parker on a great deal of industry and ingenuity in working the matter out. I think we may say we have made some progress, if only negatively. Exactly, said Sir Impey, turning on him with staggering abruptness. Very negatively indeed. And having seriously hampered the case for the defence, what are you going to do next? Well, that's a nice thing to say, when we've cleared up such a lot of your points for you. I dare say, but they are the sorts of points which are much better left muffled. Damn it all, we want to get to the truth. Do we? I do not. I do not care twopence for the truth. I want a case. It doesn't matter to me who killed Cathcart, provided I can prove it wasn't Denver. It's really enough if I can throw reasonable doubt on its being Denver. Now, here's a client comes to me with a story of a quarrel, a suspicious revolver, a refusal to produce evidence of his statements, and a totally inadequate and idiotic alibi, and I arrange to obfuscate the jury with mysterious footprints and discrepancies to time, a young woman with a secret, and a general vague suggestion of something between a burglary and a crime passionnel. And here you come, explaining the footprints, exculpating the unknown man, abolishing the discrepancies, clearing up the motives of the young woman, and most carefully throwing back suspicion to where it rested in the first place. What do you expect? I've always said that the professional advocate is the most immoral fellow on the face of the earth, and now I know for certain. Well, all this just means that we mustn't rest upon our oars. You must go on, my dear boy, and get more evidence of a positive kind. If this Mr. Goyles did not kill Cathcart, we must be able to find the person who did. Anyway, there's one thing to be thankful for, and that is that you were still too unwell to go before the grand jury last Thursday, Lady Mary. And the prosecution will be building their case on a shot fired at 3 a.m. Do not answer any questions if you can help it, and we will spring it on 'em. Ah! But will they believe anything she says at the trial after that? All the better if they don't. She will be their witness. You'll get a nasty heckling, Lady Mary, but you must not mind that. It's all in the game. Just stick to your story, and we will deliver the goods. See? Sir Impey wagged a menacing finger. I see, and I'll be heckled like anything. Just go on stubbornly saying, I'm telling the truth now. That's the idea, is it? Exactly so. By the way, Denver still refuses to explain his movements, I suppose. Categorically. The Whimsies are a very determined family, and I fear that for the present it is useless to pursue that line. If we could discover the truth in some other way and confront the Duke with it, he might then be persuaded to add his confirmation. Well now, said Parker, we have, as it seems to me, still 3 lines to go on. First, we must try to establish the Duke's alibi from external sources. Secondly, we can examine the evidence afresh with a view to finding the real murderer. And thirdly, the Paris police may give us some light upon Cathcart's past history. And I fancy I know where to go next for information on the second point. Grinder's Hole. Oh, yes, I was forgetting that. That's where that bloodthirsty farmer fellow lives, isn't it? The one who set the dogs on you. With the remarkable wife, yes. See here, how does this strike you? This fellow is ferociously jealous of his wife, and inclined to suspect every man who comes near her. When I went up there that day and mentioned that a friend of mine might have been hanging about there the previous week, he got frightfully excited, and threatened to have the fellow's blood. Seemed to know who I was referring to. Now, of course, with my mind so full of number 10, Goyles, I never thought but what he was the man. But supposing it was Cathcart, you see, we know now Goyles hadn't even been in the neighbourhood till the Wednesday, so you wouldn't expect what's-his-name, Grimethorpe, to know about him. But Cathcart might have wandered over to Grinder's Hole any day and been seen. And look here, here's another thing that fits in. When I went up there, Mrs. Grimethorpe evidently mistook me for someone she knew, and hurried down to warn me off. Well, of course, again, I've been thinking all the time that she must have seen my old cap and Burberry from the window and mistaken me for Goyles. But now I come to think of it, I told the kid who came to the door that I was from Riddlesdale Lodge. If the child told her mother that, she must have thought it was Cathcart. No, Whimsy, that won't do. She must have known Cathcart was dead by that time. Oh, damn it, yes. Yes, I suppose she must. Unless that surly old devil kept the news from her. By Jove, that's just what he would do if he'd killed Cathcart himself. He'd never say a word to her, and I don't suppose he'd let her look at a paper, even if they take one. It's a primitive sort of place. But didn't you say Grimethorpe had an alibi? We didn't really test it. And how do you suppose he knew Cathcart was going to be in the thicket that night? Perhaps he sent for him, suggested Mary. That's right, cried Peter eagerly. You remember we thought Cathcart must have heard from Giles, making an appointment. But suppose the message was from Grimethorpe, threatening to spit on Cathcart to Jerry. Are you suggesting, Lord Peter, said Mr. Murbles in a tone calculated to chill Peter's blithe impetuosity, that at the very time Mr. Cathcart was betrothed to your sister, he was carrying on a disgraceful intrigue with a married woman very much his social inferior? Oh, I beg your pardon, Polly. It's all right. I, as a matter of fact, wouldn't be surprised frightfully. Dennis was always... Well, he had rather continental ideas about marriage and that sort of thing. I don't think he'd have thought it mattered very much. He'd probably have said there was a time and place for everything. One of those watertight compartment minds, eh? Mr. Parker, despite his long acquaintance of the seamy side of things in London, had his brows set in a gloomy frown of as fierce a provincial disapproval as ever came from Barrow-in-Furness. If you can upset this Grimethorpe's alibi, we might make some sort of case of it. What do you think, Murbles? Well, Grimethorpe and the servant both admit Grimethorpe, was not at Grinder's Hole on Wednesday night. If he can't prove he was at Stapley, he may have been at Riddlesdale Lodge. By Jove, yes, driven off alone, stopped somewhere, left McGee, sneaked back, met Cathcart, done him in, and toddled home next day with a tale about machinery. Or he may have been to Stapley, left early or gone late, and put in the murder on the way. We've got to check the precise times very carefully. Hooray! I think we're getting back to Riddlesdale. Well, I'd better stay here. There may be something from Paris. Right you are. Let me know the minute anything comes through. I say, old thing. Yes? Does it occur to you that what's the matter with this case is that there are too many clues? Dozens of people with secrets and elopements barging about all over the place? Oh, Peter, I hate you.